The Neat King B2 is the cheapest condenser microphone that you can buy and get truly professional voiceover results. I kind of can't believe that they can sell a microphone this good, this cheap, and still turn a profit. And I have to wonder if maybe they actually can't. Hi everybody, I'm David Ottavino, a classically trained stage actor who now earns a living doing voiceover work from home. I've got the Neat King B2 here to review, and it's on loan to me from my friends at the SML Podcast. The SML Podcast is your home for video game news, reviews, general nerd talk, and wet pancakes. If that intrigues you, check out the SML Podcast wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. Okay, so here's the headline, folks. In my opinion, the Neat King B2 is the cheapest microphone that you can buy to get truly professional voiceover results at home. It's only $170 US, and I have seen it on sale as low as $150. Prior to this microphone, the cheapest microphone I would usually recommend for people to do voiceover work with at home was the Røde NT1-A. It's a $230 microphone and is kind of the market leader in the prosumer voiceover microphone category. The NT1-A is a spectacular microphone. I've always compared it very, very favorably to the microphones that I use in my professional voiceover work that cost $1,000 or more. This microphone, at $60 less than the Røde NT1-A, is just as good as that microphone, if not a little bit better. So who made this microphone? Well, the company Neat was founded a few years ago by two of the original founders of Blue microphones. You've probably heard of the Blue Yeti, the Blue Snowball, and Blue also has a long history of making very, very high-quality studio-grade microphones as well. So while the name Neat might not have a lot of name recognition right now, they certainly have a long, long pedigree of know-how and expertise. So let's talk about some of the things that I look for in a professional-grade microphone. If you're a contractor and you walk into a hardware store, you know at a glance which are the tools that are aimed at consumers and which are the tools that are aimed at professionals. There's a certain price range of tools that any weekend DIYer can buy to do a little fix-it job at their own home, but it's not going to be a really good tool. It might get the job done, but not without a certain degree of hassle. Something like, oh, this saw blade doesn't cut very straight, and so my lines are going to be all jagged or wiggly. Or, oh, the motor in this rotary tool isn't quite strong enough to cut through this sheet of metal very quickly. This is going to take me all day. And tools like that are totally fine for amateurs to get a job done in their own home and, do the job maybe once, maybe twice. But if you're a professional and you get paid to do high-quality work that you need to do over and over again, you need a high-quality tool that's not only going to give you professional results, but also is going to be easy to work with and not give you any extra trouble that you're going to have to go back and fix later. The Neat King B2 is one such microphone. Most other microphones under $200 give you a certain degree of problems that you then have to deal with. The most notable one to me as a voiceover actor is self-noise. What is self-noise? It's the degree of background hiss that a microphone's circuitry produces all on its own. Self-noise is present on a lot of cheaper microphones, and you can usually deal with it at a regular speaking volume. When you notice the problems is when you try to get low and intimate. Say you're doing some very dramatic narration of some kind, and so you need to speak more quietly and you need to turn up the gain on your interface. Now, the more you turn up that gain knob on your interface, the more of that hiss is going to be present in your recording. The Neat King B2 has a remarkable self-noise figure of only 6 decibels. That's among some of the quietest microphones in the world. So I'm going to let you listen to some comparison audio so that you can hear what I mean. Now, all of these comparisons are recorded through a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 USB interface, because this is probably the most typical price range of the interface for people that are going to be using a microphone like this. Now, the closest microphone in this price range and class that I wanted to compare it to is an AKG Perception microphone. The AKG P220 sells for about $150 and is tonally very similar to the Neat King B2. I don't actually have a P220, but I've got the older discontinued Perception 100. The capsule and circuitry and topography are largely similar to the P220. The specs are almost identical, so the sound of this microphone should be virtually identical to what you'd hear in a modern P220. Let's take a listen.
The firm was known as Scrooge and Marley, but Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. Sometimes people new to the business called Scrooge, and sometimes Marley, but he answered to both names. It was all the same to him. The firm was known as Scrooge and Marley, but Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. Sometimes people new to the business called Scrooge, and sometimes Marley, but he answered to both names. It was all the same to him.
Now, the AKG Perception mics have a self-noise level of 16 decibels. That's 10 decibels higher than the Neat King B2, and you could probably hear that in the samples that you just listened to, that sort of background hiss. It's like there's this veil of noise over the AKG, and when you listen to the Neat King B2, that just gets lifted away. Now, it's really, really hard to find a microphone under $200 that has a self-noise as low as the Neat King B2. Almost impossible. The only one that I've ever found that even comes close is the Audio-Technica AT2035. The 2035 is a slightly pricier but vastly superior sibling to the wildly popular AT2020. This guy only has a self-noise of 12 decibels, so still twice as high as the Neat King B2. Let's give a listen.
Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner.
So we can hear that the Audio-Technica has less self-noise, but the overall tonal quality isn't quite as balanced or warm as the Neat King B2. It benefits in that recording from a lot of proximity effect, just like the AT2020 does, but the difference is that the Audio-Technica 2020 and AT2035 are both back electret condenser microphones instead of true large diaphragm condensers. Back electret capsules can sound very nice, but in the case of these cheaper Audio-Technicas, it tends to give them a thinner, more brittle, almost mechanical tonal quality. When you compare that to the smooth, soft, buttery quality of the Neat King B2, there's no comparison. This one's the winner. But what about when you stack it up against one of the most popular microphones in the world, the Røde NT1-A? Well, let's see how they compare.
The door of Scrooge's office was always open, so that he might keep his eye on his clerk, who occupied a dismal little cell, a sort of tank, where he spent his days copying letters. The door of Scrooge's office was always open, so that he might keep his eye on his clerk, who occupied a dismal little cell, a sort of tank, where he spent his days copying letters.
They sound pretty darn similar, don't they? In fact, some people would argue that the Røde NT1-A has more of a brittle top end. Now, that thin, brittle top end is largely solved in its more expensive sibling, the Røde NT1. That's why most video reviews you see will compare the Neat King B2 to the Røde NT1, because it has a slightly smoother top end than the NT1-A. Still, they're very, very similar. And at $60 cheaper, I almost can't really think of a reason to choose the NT1-A over the Neat King B2. It's that good. So in its price category, the Neat King B2 stands toe-to-toe with its peers. I think it's a wonderful microphone, period, at any price. But let's see how it compares to a truly studio-grade, expensive piece of equipment like the $1,200 Neumann TLM 103.
It was cold, bleak, biting weather on this Christmas Eve. The city clocks had only just gone 3, but it was quite dark already, and candles were flaring in the windows of the neighboring offices. It was cold, bleak, biting weather on this Christmas Eve. The city clocks had only just gone 3, but it was quite dark already, and candles were flaring in the windows of the neighboring offices.
So if you were listening closely with very good headphones, you could probably hear the difference between these two microphones. The $1,200 Neumann has a certain 3D dimensionality to it that, by comparison, makes the Neat King B2 sound a bit flat and muffled. Still, for less than 1/6 of the price of this microphone, it is astonishing that the Neat King B sounds as good as it does. So how did they do it? Well, let's go back to that speculation that I mentioned at the very top of this video, that I think maybe they are not selling this microphone for a profit. I think they might be selling it at cost or maybe even at a loss. I have zero evidence to back this up. This is totally just a hunch, just a guess, based on what I know about what is inside this microphone and the company's history. Long after the original founders left the company, Blue was purchased by computer peripheral maker Logitech. Logitech now markets microphones like the Yeti and the Snowball for computer applications like telework or streaming or podcasting. What does that have to do with Neat? Well, Neat Microphones now partners with Turtle Beach for distribution. Turtle Beach is the famous maker of video game peripherals that are very affordable but not necessarily known for their quality. So let's talk about quality. The Neat King B2 uses a 34mm custom-tuned capsule. It's got a transformer-biased output, which gives it some weight and heft in the sound. Transformers can be very noisy, so you have to choose a good one when designing your product in order to keep the self-noise level down to a minimum. You have to choose good capacitors in the circuitry. Now, the original Neat King B had a completely linear circuit. That means there was no EQ in the circuitry. But people complained that that one had sort of a brittle top end like the Røde NT1-A. This microphone smooths that over, so I suspect they went back in, redesigned that circuit topography to give it a little bit of EQ. So what are we talking about? We're talking about R&D, we're talking about high-quality components. It ships with a shock mount and a pop filter, not a very good one, I'm not even using it, but it comes with that stuff anyway. This is a very heavy, thick, high-quality piece of equipment, and I have to wonder if Turtle Beach is willing to eat some of the cost of this microphone in order to take a bite out of Logitech's market share. Again, I have zero proof to back this up, but I have to wonder if maybe Turtle Beach is willing to take a loss on partnering with Neat Microphones and getting them into people's hands in order to be established as a quality purveyor of streaming and recording equipment. It feels like a shot across the bow at Logitech and Blue Microphones. It's just that this microphone is really, really that good. I can't believe that they can sell a microphone this good at only $170. So if you're looking to record professional quality voiceover from home, work that you can actually get paid for and be proud of, this is now my new go-to recommendation for the cheapest microphone that you can get and get those high quality results. The only cons that I could really knock against it are it is huge. It's very large. It's very heavy. You're going to need a heavy-duty stand. If you're a streamer, it is large enough that it might get in the way of your face. And that pop filter that it comes with is not very useful. You don't really need a pop filter if you position your mic correctly, so I wouldn't worry about it. It comes with its own custom shock mount, but because of its unique shape and large size, you can't really use very many universal shock mounts with it. You're kind of stuck with the shock mount that it comes with, which it's fine. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please do me a favor and give it a like or even hit that subscribe button if you would like to see more. I hope this video was helpful to you. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.